Good evening. Welcome to Real Talk. Tonight we're going to be discussing a very, very good film that was recommended to me by my co-host, Bathtime. How you doing, Bathtime?
I'm very, very well. I'm delighted that you have described it as a good film, as initial conversation suggested that you didn't enjoy it.
So, first of all, I'm just going to do my Elvis impression. The film is starring Bruce Campbell as Elvis, Ozzie Davis as Jack or JFK, Ella Joyce as the nurse, who plays it quite straight, Heidi Marhaut as Kelly Thomas, Bob Ivy as Bubba Hotep. He's a stuntman and he plays a very, very realistic mummy. And Reggie Bannister as the rest home administrator.
Do you know who Reggie Bannister is?
I'm not familiar with his work, I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, first of all, we've got to address that. That is, I love impressions more than anything, and I really like that impression. Like, at random points during the podcast, I'm just going to shout, say something. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a huge. I love Elvis. For anyone who's watching, not necessarily for his music, but for just how ridiculous a figure he is. And this film is a sort of combination of the very, very profound and touching themes with absolute nonsense in it, which is why I love it so much. It's directed by someone whose name I can't pronounce, like Dan Kostaloglu.
His name is Don Coscarelli. He
Right.
wrote it, co-produced it, and directed it.
He also directed Phantasm. You ever
Yes,
seen that
yes,
film?
he did. No, but there's an actor. I can't remember the name, but there was an actor in this that is in Phantasm. It might be the crazy guy with the two revolvers. I'll call him Revolvers.
No, it's not Keem Savi. It is the guy that you mentioned last, like not Roger Bannister because he broke the 4-minute mile. Reggie Bannister, yeah, he's Mr. Phantasm.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Which is it's a bit weird to have made two supernatural films based in an old people's home, because I can't quite recall the Phantasm series that well, but I believe that he's a funeral undertaker, and there are scenes in old people's homes, so it's obviously something that, like, I don't know, resonates a lot with this director.
Okay. I'll be honest with you, it's not a film that I'd say I'd watch again, but one thing that really, really impressed me was Bruce Campbell as Elvis. I thought he embodied the character of Elvis very, very well. I loved he done the voice spot on. If anyone who's actually heard an Elvis interview will obviously think it's actually Elvis speaking. I thought he done the voice perfectly. And we mentioned earlier before this show, there was a clear distinction between Elvis and Sebastian Haff, and I thought he nailed that perfectly.
What do you think of Bruce? Have you seen like Bruce Campbell's stuff, or have you just seen him in like Spider-Man and things like that?
Probably just Spider-Man. Was he actually Did he play Peter Parker in the TV series of Spider-Man? If so,
no. Like, the ones with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
They're directed by Sam Raimi or Raimi or whatever, who did the Evil Dead films. And in every film, Bruce Campbell plays like an obnoxious, annoying, I think he's like a hotel clerk or something. Okay. He's kind of like, you get those actors that are Lucky Charms for people, like Peter Gunn. Is it Peter Gunn who did the new the Superman film? James Gunn.
Yeah, James Gunn. Okay.
Yeah, always got his brother in films and things like that. Like Bruce Campbell is in I think every Sam Raimi film, and stuff like that. And I think that he is a fantastic actor myself. I think he's really, really good. But this is his. I know Ash Williams, who is the main character in The Evil Dead, is the one that he's most famous for. But without question, to me, this is the greatest portrayal of Elvis ever. The only thing that comes close is in Father Ted, where they did the three stages of Elvis. But
have you not seen the new Elvis film? Have you not seen the one with? It was good, but I don't think he embodies the character the way Campbell does. If I'm honest.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
honest, I don't like biopics.
Okay. Cool.
They've got a bit. Do you not think like I like Elton John, for example, but I know
Mm,
exactly what's going to happen in a biopic. It's going to start
mm,
off with one of their parents being mean to them or not believing in their dreams. Then there's going to be a really cool bit where you get all the songs you like. Then they're going to get alcohol, drugs, everything's going to go bad, and then it's going to finish with a concert where they do really well. That is every
mm,
single biopic like of a musical
mm.
star you've ever seen. I'm much more interested in Elvis and JFK fighting a mummy in cowboy boots. Yes, Tyrone.
It doesn't. It's a film that doesn't take itself too seriously, which is, I think, why for some people this film would work. Shout out to Ella Joyce who plays the nurse. I thought she was one of my favorite characters in the whole thing because she
We're
just
big
plays the
fans,
role.
aren't we?
Well, no, she plays it straight. So it's like you've got this crazy like world where you've got JFK and Elvis tackling a mummy, but then you've got this normal nurse that just does her job as any nurse would do. But that's what makes it quite humorous because she's not being over the top. She's not trying to be funny. She's funny without trying to be funny. So
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
she
for
was
me,
quite good.
what I really like about it is that if this was made like today, she'd be some sort of smart aleck character and all this. But what I love about it is that she's basically acting like she's in Gone with the Wind or something, like a kind of Southern Belle. And
Yeah,
it's like, I just love how ridiculous it is. You know,
yeah,
she's putting the cream on, then she's like, "Oh my
yeah,
goodness, Mister
yeah,
Hair!" It's
yeah.
wonderful. It's like just this absurdism that I like. But right, we should probably start off with the premise of the film.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do the premise, and then we'll get into it. So it's set in an old people's home.
Yeah.
And Elvis impersonator called Sebastian Haff who believes himself to be the real Elvis, lives a really depressing existence. He's got some sort of form of aggressive knob cancer. It's just awful.
Mm.
And then a mummy comes, and they end up fighting the mummy. And that, to be honest, is the bit that I'm not really that interested in this film. It's like when you watched it, Tyrone, I'm sure by now you know I'm going to ask you what the key conflict is or the key theme of the film is.
Yeah. For me, watching it, the bits that I found most interesting were the serious parts. So basically, the parts where the character's narrating the story and he's going within himself. So he's asking himself questions like, where'd my youth go? You know, what's happened to me? He's basically looking back at his youth and thinking, look at all the time that I've lost. And he talks a lot about, makes reference to his daughter quite a lot. I wish I could just tell her I love her.
And his wife.
And his wife and stuff like that. Really, I found quite interesting because in a crazy, ridiculous film about a mummy, those bits stand out the most.
Because the mummy's just a metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the A story in this, like the main plot, is utterly absurd, and it's just not it's fun, but it's very superficial. But this film actually isn't that superficial, is it? It's dealing with it's dealing with stuff, and like I mean, for me, it dealt with a couple of things. The most obvious one is about dying.
Fear of death. Yeah.
But it's something. There's something else that I think like grabs me a bit more in this. It's about kind of how you die many years before you actually die. And in the film, he equates sex very early on to him being a man, and that when he can't get a boner, when he can't like bone the nurse, he's not really a man. He's something in between. And through the course of the film, that idea of like the identity of who you are changes dramatically, and that's what's so cool. That there's a black guy in it who says he's JFK, and Sebastian Haff says he's Elvis. And I swear to God, at the end of the film, he's fucking Elvis, and that's JFK. That, like, no question to me. And
Yeah.
it's about, as much as it's about death, it's also about rebirth. And that's what I think, that this is a beautiful film. And as long as you take away the ridiculous stuff about a mummy in cowboy boots shitting out people's souls, and like some of the worst special effects you'll ever see involving a scarab, like all of that is just the skin on a film. Is what's underneath is so poetic and beautiful to me that it affects me so deeply. And I really wish more films like this were made that deal with like really deep and profound human themes.
Can I tell you what I thought when I was watching it? So my interpretation of the film is that they're all dead inside the home, and the home acts as like a waiting room before you're taken to the other side. So like they're all dead for me. But like for me, that the actual home, it's basically, they think it's a home because that's what's going to comfort them. But for me, they're actually all dead and they're just waiting to go to the other side in a waiting room. Essentially, that's what I thought anyway.
I've got no issues with that interpretation, because when we talk about the opening shot of the film, as like anyone who sort of watches this will maybe be beginning to see, in filmmaking you try and rhyme things. So the opening shot is like a reflection of the final shot. The final shot in this is him outside looking up at the night sky. The film opens outside, but daytime, looking at trees, like showing nature and stuff. And it goes straight into the family home, to the, what's it called, retirement home, Shady Rest, and it instantly invokes a mausoleum. And like when you talk about, it's essentially you're talking about purgatory.
Yeah.
And it's not just the old people that are in purgatory; the mummy is as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like waiting to pass on. And I think that is, whilst I don't think that is what is literally happening, I do think you're correct in saying that is the metaphorical meaning, is that all these people, not just them, but everyone around them, is waiting for them to die.
Yeah.
And that is such a dreadful sort of feeling, as it were. Like, imagine being in that state, and it will probably happen to all of us, where you think it would be better for you and your family if you pass on. And this film is about reclaiming your place as old, and it is. By the end of this, Tyrone, you're going to really like this film. I promise you. I'd make you like it.
So that opening scene, obviously, we've got Elvis's neighbor, essentially the guy who's on the adjacent bed, and he's basically having a coughing fit. And I'll be honest with you, I'm watching that scene, I'm thinking, God, when are you going to stop coughing?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I was thinking, just hurry up and die. Like, how long are you going to cough for? I know that sounds cold, but I was like, the coughing was just so fucking annoying.
Do you think that was the intent from the director and the actor?
What, to annoy me, or to just, I don't know. I think it was just a long drawn out process to maybe gain a few laughs, but for me it wasn't funny, that bit. I found it a bit,
I don't think it is meant to be funny. I think it's meant to be, I think you're kind of right, actually, which is that it's an annoyance, that this person is an annoyance. And we obviously get a bit more backstory about them, but it's not just the coughing, it's the screaming. Like, they've clearly got shell shock, or, you know, what we now call PTSD, from fighting in wars and stuff. But to me, it was portrayed more like a baby than an old person, with the crying and the screaming and the inability to communicate. And I think it's quite effective in what that scene is about. So, so this is the opening scene. This is the first time we see Elvis, or Sebastian Haff, as he is at this point. What is the scene trying to establish here?
You come into the world, like, crying, and you go out. Well, basically, you come into this world on your own, and you die on your own. And then perhaps, but perhaps that's the main.
That's what you took from it.
Yeah,
So
because it's quite a lonely place for him to be. Obviously, he's got Sebastian next door to him watching what's going on, but he dies on his own. He's literally on his own, and he's going out in such a horrible way.
yeah,
And,
so I think
it's
what it
torture.
is. Well, yeah, I mean it is. It's horrible, and it like when you watch it, you maybe you don't, but I thought of like old people that I've known and things like grandmothers and things like that. But I think the point is that there's no dignity to this
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
And when you look at Sebastian Hoff next to him, he's not having fun. And he talks essentially about how all he has is like some food to eat. And then he's going to do a shit later. And he's come down to these really basic appetites and these basic needs. And he's trapped in his bed. And it's almost like it's filmed as a kind of blur, as a dream sequence where he's not really involved. He's a spectator in his own body. And that's just his existence now, is he's waiting for the guy to die next to him. He's waiting to die and he's got nothing. And it's so obvious that to me that this is all about imminent death, to the degree that they've already died. As you were saying, like they might as well be dead. And in the first act of a lot of films, what we tend to find now is you portray this image of a world where the character is stuck, or it is basically going to have a metaphorical death unless they do something. And here it's almost a literal death. And then, like, I can't remember what the next scene is. Do you remember?
So after that, shortly after that, we get Callie, who comes in, and she's basically the daughter of the person who's died. Who was
Jane Skirt.
About. Yeah, Jane Skirt. And it's quite funny. The initial scene is basically him staring at her posterior for about 5 to 10 minutes, like in awe. And then he starts to be a bit judgmental. He's like, "How many times did you visit him? It didn't cost you much to visit." And I thought, wow, not only are you being very judgmental, but you have no idea about how she grew up with her father. For all we know, he might have been an arsehole to her. Do you know what I mean? So I thought it was just.
Do you know what the point of that is?
No, but I do understand why he's doing it. It's because in his head he's thinking, I haven't had a visit from my daughter either.
Yeah, he's angry at his daughter and he's blaming his daughter. Yeah. That's the thing. It works on two levels, this scene, which is why I like it. Is like she bends down and is giving him an eyeful. But he understands that. I think he says something like she might as well be showing herself to her pet. I don't.
No, but he also mentioned the fact that he's passed his sell-by date. He's no sexual threat.
That's the point. That's the thing.
That's why she feels the need to do it. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not the need to do it. It's that she doesn't view him like that. And that's about how he views himself. This is him tying sex as some sort of the ability, like getting boners and banging girls and things.
Or being macho.
Yeah. And that's what he thinks a man is at this point. And he's also angry, but he's not angry at her, what she represents, which is like his daughter. Even though his daughter thinks that, we'll get to the Elvis impersonator stuff.
Yeah.
In a bit. And then we get what's her face? Like Southern Nurse comes in.
Yeah. So then the nurse comes in, she calls him, she refers to him as Sebastian Hoff, and he basically tells her, "Look, that's not my name." And then Callie turns around and says to him, "You're Elvis. How can you be Elvis? Like, why would you give up all of that?" And then he explains the situation of what happened when he met an Elvis impersonator called Sebastian Hoff, and they traded places. Now, that scene, for me, that was a very, very interesting scene. I always like them kind of films where you get somebody in their vehicle and they're driving in America and they're on the highway and you can see the nature of the height. You see the sunset, and I thought that was a beautiful shot. But yeah, he explains how his friends were basically sucking him dry. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like when you look at all these celebrities and they've got these massive entourages with them, and it was like it made me realize how difficult it could be being famous, and why for some people it might lose its appeal when you feel like you've got no time for yourself.
Well, I think right. So for me, there are a couple of key things going on here. One is that I adore the music in this film. Like
Yes.
I've listened to it for years. You can find it on Spotify. I absolutely I'm not, as you know, I'm not a massive music guy, but this soundtrack really affects me. So you've got the wonderful music, but it's also the kind of the glory of youth. Like he has his kind of hero shot where he comes out of the car and he's big, beautiful, like moving like a panther. Like that's Elvis. But the bit I really like in all of this is he talks about how even as Elvis, he's not who he really should be. Like Elvis is a creation. It's around him. And that I think is really, really important to the stuff that goes on later, because it's about the role of who you are. And then obviously we get the blueberry pie scene, which I mean, I love all this film, but I particularly enjoyed that because I think it's the way it's sort of filmed and acted, the way it's shot. You can see who the real Elvis is throughout that scene.
Yeah, I love. He basically comes out of the dressing room. His friends are there to meet him, and he just wipes his mouth because he's just been stuffing his face with blueberry.
Yeah, he sucks his thumb, innit? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, and then like he doesn't, like he goes to open the car door and stuff, and the obvious intention is that they've swapped, and I mean it's so obvious that you see like Elvis kind of waving him goodbye and stuff like that, and then we get a bit more backstory on how Elvis ended up here as he continues talking to the girlies.
yeah. But yeah, shout out to the artist Brian Taylor. I might go and listen to some of his music on Spotify, but he is the main man who did all the music for Bubba Hotep. The soundtrack, I forgot to mention, it is a very good soundtrack. Um, Especially those scenes where you see Elvis, like he's obviously reflecting on his past life. You know,
And
thinking
not a
about the
single
troubles that.
Elvis song.
Yeah, it didn't really need it.
Didn't. Like you have to.
Yeah.
Like, if you haven't, like, I mean, I'm hoping that everyone who would watch this has seen it, but this is made for about 20 quid. This film, like, it's proper down, dirty, and cheap. This film, and yet, even though it's about Elvis, it doesn't matter that there's not an Elvis song in it at all.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's about the actor who's portraying Elvis. I think he just captures the essence, like I've said before. And yeah, I think if anyone was going to speak about Campbell's greatest role, this has to be it, hands down. Even though I've not seen any of his other stuff, I'll have to watch them later.
Brilliant.
No, but no, for me, it's all about the acting, especially obviously you see him throughout the film with his walking frame, walking around, and it's quite a good demonstration of physical acting.
Yeah.
You know, right? Yeah, the physical acting superb.
You believe he's old.
You do, yeah. Yeah, you do. Just in how he moves. It's fantastic.
And then we get a bit more of the Sebastian Haff stuff. Like we see Sebastian Haff kind of free, like driving along by himself, which is in contrast to being stuck in a car with Colonel Tom Parker and the others. And we see him living this very, like, kind of small life, but a happy life. He's on a trailer park, and he's got a contract. So if he ever wants to swap back, he's got proof. But somehow he blows it up in
a barbecue accident.
Yeah.
But then he says, "I didn't mind." He doesn't care. He's like, "Hold on, that's actually a good thing because I don't want to go back anyway." It's like, wow.
Yeah, and he sort of says that without Priscilla, like Priscilla Presley, his wife, and without, like, you know, his daughter, is it Lisa Marie Presley?
Yeah.
nothing really matters. Like, you know, girls are just girls, this kind of stuff. Once again, like in a sort of like in a purgatory again, as Sebastian Haff, but happy. And he goes and he does his Elvis stuff, and I love it because he just comes out and shouts about taking care of business. And then one night he falls off stage, he fractures his hip, and he goes into a coma and wakes up like 15 years later or 20 years later, whatever it is, and everyone's gone, and he's in the old people's home, and no one believes that he's Elvis. And that is
Imagine though, 15 years of your life you've missed, and you wake up and you think, I didn't get to live any of them years. That's horrible, man. That's crazy, isn't it?
It is, but a lot of the film is about how even when he's awake, he's done the same thing. And so, and remember, this is a movie about Elvis fighting a mummy. And so you get caught up to speed by all of this, and it's very obvious that the girls are kind of indulging him. Like, they'll call him Mr. Presley and things like that.
Yeah.
You don't believe it. Did you believe it at this point?
I did. You know what? It's crazy. From the beginning right up until the end, I believe him. I actually believe he's Elvis, and it's just because he says it with such a sincerity. You know, when you look beyond all the sexist comments, and you look beyond all the misery that he has, him being quite miserable, he kind of talks down to the nurses sometimes. You know, beyond all that, when you look deep down, when he's kind of like bearing his soul to them, you actually believe the words. He says that he plays the part quite well. And obviously, the nurse, she does indulge him a little bit. I like the line where she says, remember later on, I've got to take care of that little problem you've got down there.
Yeah, that's
and they start laughing. Yeah, and they start cackling in the hallway. I had to laugh at that point. I thought, she's making light of a really serious situation.
Well, she's treating him like a child, I think, is the big thing. It's they're listening to him because he's a sort of like an entertaining 6-year-old talking about how he drove to the moon or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's still a sadness in it. Like, and then after that we get a bit more mummy we get the start of the mummy action in it, because that horrible woman, the one that I don't like, stealing people's stuff in the old people's room, a thief.
Yeah. Even I think she's in there's another lady on a life support machine or whatever it is.
Yeah, she steals her glasses. It's an iron lung. With a horrible fate. Shout out to all the people in iron lungs. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're not meant to like her, are you? And and she gets got.
But that overgrown beetle or whatever it is, I'm looking at it thinking, for God's sake.
It's a scarab.
Oh, a scarab. I've never seen one before, but it looks like a beetle. But I was just thinking to myself, come on. You know, when you're kind of wanting something to speed on and get past that bit, I was thinking, I'll just get on with that bit. It's just so silly.
Look,
he puts up a good fight, though.
Well, I mean, what I can't really like, this film is a cheap film. And so they obviously, and it's also, it is a horror film in some ways. It isn't really, but on the surface, it's a horror film. So you're going to have these sequences in it. It's not very scary. It is cheaply done. It's relatively effective at establishing that the scarab is a nasty bit of work because, you know, there's quite a lot of blood. It's not gory. But there is blood. And then you get a shot of the mummy. And it's perfectly fine, I think, for establishing that there is a monster in the house, which is all it's about. And the person who died, you're not meant to feel any sympathy for them. In fact, you're meant to dislike them. And I think it kind of covers all those bases fairly well. It is one of the weaker scenes in the film because it doesn't involve Jack F. Kennedy or Elvis, and any scene that doesn't have them in isn't as good. But yeah, so I think I think it's perfectly fine. It establishes a threat. And then what do we have next? We have the dinner scene.
Yeah, so we're introduced to them as they're all eating at dinner, and that's the first time we see the guy with the two revolvers. I'll call him Arcelot. I thought he was quite good.
Kimosabe.
Kimo Sabi. Yeah, quite an interesting
Ridiculous.
character. Yeah, very ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I absolutely love it. It's so stupid. It's so wonderfully stupid that there is a guy who is like 70 years old in a cowboy outfit with
Yeah,
like, and not like I'm in a cowboy hat. I mean in a cowboy outfit with fake revolvers, sitting there just blasting his guns, shouting about a bridge. Like, and it's so dumb that I love it because no one reacts to it as being weird. Like, it shows how powerless all these old people are. That no one really cares what they're doing. They represent no threat. Look at this guy who's lost his mind. And there's more kind of melancholy in this, where Elvis kind of says he used to be his friend, and then he kind of lost his mind. But he was a good guy, Kemosabe, and it's just sad what's happened to him. And I think we've missed the introduction of JFK, because that happened in the scene beforehand, and that's the first time we see Elvis out of bed. So let's start off with how you feel about Ozzie Davis being Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, he played the role quite well. It's kind of crazy. At first, it's kind of less believable. You don't actually believe, obviously, that he's JFK. But as you go through it, you see like how sincere he is. He's basically like a mirror to Elvis. They both got their own delusions about who they are, and I think that's why it works quite well. And they develop quite a strong friendship throughout the whole thing.
I think he's so cool. Like, Ozzie Davis is, I absolutely love this performance because he's obviously like a black guy and JFK is white, so that doesn't seem to match up. But he's like, they dyed me this color.
Yeah,
and it's once again, it's so stupid and ridiculous, but it's played so earnestly and heartfelt, and I love it because you're completely correct that at this point. You're kind of on the side that Sebastian Haff is Elvis. Right? You might have some doubts, but you're kind of on the side.
Yeah.
With JFK, absolutely not. This is just a crazy guy. But the thing is that you've had more insight into Elvis that you haven't had into JFK. And I like that because Elvis is like, he's kind of accepting of it. Like, he doesn't rule it out. As an audience, I think you're meant to rule it out. But maybe if the film was about JFK and there'd been all this backstory stuff, maybe it would have been quite convincing. But it's sort of, you're right, it represents a mirror to just how ridiculous Elvis is. Where he says he's Elvis, his best mate thinks he's JFK, and the other one, Kemosabe, is just like shooting up the room. It's all so stupid that it's glorious.
Well, Kemosabe, he believes that he's shooting out bullets when they're blank. That's what's funny. He's getting properly excited about bullets that don't exist. But Ozzie Davis, I think one of the best scenes in the whole thing is when he speaks to Elvis towards the end of the film, and he says to him, you've got to promise me one thing, that you weren't in on it with Lee Harvey Oswald. And Elvis basically says, I didn't know him. And it's just like, that's kind of what solidifies the friendship. And I just thought, wow.
No. For me, that's not what solidifies the friendship. It's
okay.
It's very early on, right? We get the scene where the Scarab attacks Elvis.
Yeah.
And we get the first kind of idea that there's still a bit of Elvis in Elvis, where he does his kind of karate chop and goes like, "Come on, then, baby." What does he say?
I can't remember the line.
He says, "Let's go." Do it as Elvis, please. Let's go, baby.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, and then he does his karate stuff. Right.
like Johnny Bravo.
Yeah. No, absolutely ridiculous. And then he fights the Scarab and he beats the Scarab. And he puts it in some sort of like immersion heater or something, like a filament heater. But
yes,
like,
that's it. Yeah.
But he's like, I'm still the king as he does it, right? So there's still a little bit of Elvis there. And then the next scene with him and Jack Kennedy, Jack, halfway through, he just looks at him and goes, I know you're Elvis. I know you're the real Elvis. And these two scenes have awakened something in Elvis. He's still in there. Like, he might
they both feel alive in those scenes when they're fighting against the threat. It makes them feel alive again. Almost.
Yeah, but it's I think for me, right, it's like when you're doing a run or you're playing football or maybe people watching like a computer game or something, where there's a moment that happens occasionally where something inside of you says no and you fight back. Do you know what like maybe people that were bullied might have this thing, but it happens to me in football matches or when I'm like really like putting myself out running, where like, no, I'm not giving in. And I feel that moment where Elvis fights the Scarab is no, and then he's given this reward from Crazy Jack Kennedy of saying, I know you're Elvis. And what does all that lead to?
Sorry, go again.
That is Restream.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about his boner.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Oh, when he can, he's able to kind of do things that he wasn't able to do before. Yeah.
He's waking up, and it is. Have you ever seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm absolutely convinced the first episode of Breaking Bad is based on Bubba Hotep, because it starts with Heisenberg, Walter White, on his birthday, and he gets a birthday hand job, but he can't get hard. And then the end of the episode, after he's like beaten up some kids in a store or something, he's then hard again. And this, I think that it's related to this, because you get this idea that Elvis doesn't understand it at this point. He thinks that having a boner is proof that he's a man still, when it's actually that moment where he was Elvis again. Do you know what I mean? He's just slightly confused the ideas here, and it's something that we'll see later. Because you've got to remember that when we saw that flashback when he was Elvis, he still said, "I feel like they've made me into something." Like in that moment, he wasn't really Elvis. He was what people wanted him to be. When he took that scarab on and said, "I'm the king," that's Elvis. And when Jack F. Kennedy says, "I know you're Elvis," bye-bye.
Just bear with me. Give me 5 minutes. I just got to go to the toilet quickly.
You got to go to the toilet?
Yeah, I'll be about 2 minutes. I'll be back in a minute.
What? Okay.
I won't be long. Sorry.
I don't know what to do here. All right. So, wow. All right. Okay. So, we get the bonus scene. And in this scene, it is Sebastian Haff, Elvis, has he's obviously got like some sort of form of aggressive knob cancer. So he's got like a cancerous growth on his tumor or on his penis, and he's getting like the nurse is like putting oil on it and things, and for the first time in 20 years, or I can't remember what he says exactly, he gets an erection, and she's like, "Oh, Mr. Haff," and he's like, "Yeah, baby," and it is like he's enjoying himself.
I'm back, mate.
All right. And he's enjoying himself. And this is kind of the end of Act 1, where we've established all the problems, all the themes, all the threats, but we're sort of moving into a new world on a hopeful note, because Elvis lives, baby. He's still in there somewhere, and he's beginning to come out. And then we get Act 2, Tyrone, which is I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so obviously we've spoken about the friendship between obviously Ozzy Davis's character and Campbell's character, and then yeah, we're coming into Act Two. I thought it was quite entertaining because it's like it's basically the act where we see the mummy come into it a little bit more, and I'm trying to think of the best scene. Probably that toilet scene where you see the oh
Graffiti.
no, yeah, yeah. Well, he's like, "What the hell's that?" And he's like, "Oh no, it's hieroglyphics." And that whole scene, that's the scene where I'm thinking to myself, "Gosh, like it's so utterly ridiculous what they're saying, but not what." I don't know how many times they might have been corpsed in this scene, but it's just like they just play it so seriously, and I'm thinking, crying out loud.
I love
But
it because
yeah,
it's
it works.
it's yeah because it's like this isn't played like no one makes a joke in this film. Like
Exactly. Yeah,
no
they're
one is
playing it
trying to be
seriously.
intentionally funny.
Yeah,
And it's great. This is everything I want from my second act because I think we might have spoken about it before, and I will no doubt raise it again. One of my big issues with horror films is that it's only in children's horror or children's literature do the protagonists ever try and sort the threat out. Most of the time, it's just people running away, and I understand why because it's about it's about a power fantasy. Like if you think of things like Harry Potter or It Part One, this is about like children trying to deal with a metaphor to become an adult. I think what's great about this is it reflects something similar where the old people don't have any power. Like they're scuttling around the old people's home. They've got to kind of keep their plans secret, but what they're doing is they're investigating stuff. And there's some really funny stuff about Jack F. Kennedy produces his book of magic, like
yeah.
which is just like Elvis is like, oh right, okay, and it's got these
I
things
like
in it.
yeah. I like the diagrams where you see like the demons and stuff. And I thought
Yeah,
whoever designed that book did quite a good job because you could actually like as ridiculous as the film is, you buy into it. You buy into the fact that there's some ancient magic going on here. I
yeah,
thought that was quite good. Yeah.
but also right. What I love about it is that shout out to Mr. Williams and Andrew is in the house. But what I really really like about it, right, is it's very rare to get a horror character like a horror villain that has a sense of humor. Like I've always really liked Pennywise in it when it was played by Tim Curry because it just
Yeah.
wants to piss about. Like it enjoys being a dickhead. And I always like the film Mars Attacks because the aliens
Yes.
also are dicking
Oh.
about setting cows on fire because they think it's funny.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt, but Mars
Yeah.
Attacks is a film my nan, God bless her, she introduced me to. She was like, "You need to watch this. It's brilliant," and it was brilliant back in the day. I've forgotten about that film.
Yeah, it's
But yeah.
honestly there's a bit in it where Tom Jones meets someone famous and it's like, "Hi, I'm Tom Jones." He goes, "Oh right, okay," and it's just absolute nonsense, that film, but I really like it as well. But so what I like about this is that we established that the mummy really likes cowboys, and it's from ancient Egypt, and it's just tearing about in a cowboy hat and cowboy boots, calling Cleopatra a slut, like writing it on, and it's rare that you get like this kind of like this hick, like a bubba at the start. I don't know if they could say this now, but they gave all the euphemisms what it is, and I think it was cracker, redneck, hick.
Yeah, that was at the beginning when they talk about it at the beginning. Yeah,
because I think it's worth saying that this film would not be made with the same script today, as there are some things that I don't think are particularly bad, but I can understand people would see as problematic.
But that's one of the reasons I thought, as much as I wasn't looking forward to it, that's one of the things that drew me to it as I'm watching it, because I'm thinking, all right, it's made in 2002, doesn't take itself too seriously, and doesn't attempt to kind of limit itself in terms of the script. So for me, it works on that front.
Yeah,
It takes risks with the language, which I liked.
I liked as well, but I just really like these investigations, and I also love it when they go into Jack Kennedy's study for the first time, and he's got a diorama, a recreation of like the library in Texas with like all the little people in, and there's all these pictures of like Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald everywhere.
Yeah,
and
that works a lot. That was impressive, actually.
What I think what's really cool about it is that you and Elvis both think this guy is absolutely crackers. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole point is that like he's crazy. Maybe at the end, Andrew, not now. Like that he's crazy, and then you find out that the mummy's a bit of a dickhead, and you establish the kind of threat, which is that whilst they're waiting to die, getting caught by the mummy is worse because there's no afterlife. It's going to eat your soul. No, it's going to suck the soul out of your ass. Shit it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you later, Andrew. Take care.
Bye, Andrew.
Yeah, that was that's what made me laugh. That's when I said whoever wrote this script must have been hired, because I'm watching these two characters talking about, you know, the soul. Basically, the mummy was on his arsehole waiting to suck out his soul, and I'm thinking, oh, you're saying it in with such a serious face. You believe everything that's coming out of your mouth. I'm like, wow.
And I'll tell you what, it's Jack Kennedy is played with such dignity. Do you know what I mean? Like the actor who portrays it is he is like trying to be JFK, as it were. Like and it's he says everything with kind of class and precision and how he speaks and stuff. And he's talking about a mummy dressed as a fucking cowboy sucking the soul out of your ass. It's wonderful. It's so stupid. I love it. And then we see the mummy attack.
Yeah.
What did you think for this scene?
Yeah, it was a good little battle between them. I'll be honest, a little bit drawn out for me. But I think it actually is quite interesting that they've got a stuntman for this, because with the mummy, a lot of the acting is quite physical, you know, and you know, he moves like a cowboy.
Moves like a cowboy.
Well, he kind of like struts around the screen like he's a cowboy.
Right. Okay.
He has like quite a strong presence, and you know, you do get a bit of dialogue from him later on, but I think it works. The fact that he doesn't speak much, the fact that he kind of is more action based, physical acting.
What I love about it is Kemosabe. What a G! Like, so you see, so the way it's presented is like typical standard horror movie stuff. Lights flickering, like by themselves. Then you see the mummy at the end of the corridor, and for some reason it's bought an intricate set of strobe lighting with it, and it's like and it's, you know, it's filmed like from a really low angle, so it looks massive and scary, and it's walking along and they're hiding from it, and then the Kemosabe, the 70-year-old who's dressed as a fucking cowboy, comes out, guns blazing. Yeah. Guns blazing, shouting at it, and Kemosabe dies from a heart attack. But most importantly, is Elvis. He doesn't. Yeah, he's soul intact, and he looks happy. When he dies, he looks satisfied. He went out fighting, and earlier on, we found out that Jane Skirt's dad had a Purple Heart and was in. I mean. I don't know how the timelines match up, because she's about 20 and he's 17.
Quite young, isn't she?
Yeah, but
she's very young.
But he was in some war, and you saw all these pictures of him, and the idea is like, what was his story? Who was he before this happened to him? And with Kemosabe, you get a similar idea that this could be the end of the Kemosabe film. Do you know what I mean? Where he's fought the mummy, and he saved his friend from having his soul eaten out of his ass. And that's kind of like the midpoint in the film. Like, we're about halfway through now.
yeah, yeah, the guy went out with a fight, man. He went out quite well. Um, we also get a clip. There's also a scene where Elvis is
Oh
speaking
yeah,
to the investigator, asking what's happened, and he's basically saying,
Mr.
"Oh, I heard scuttling.
Phantasm.
Yeah, I heard scuttling. I heard some scuttling." And he's basically saying, you guys deal with this. And then I believe he goes to bed after that, and eventually Jack comes back to him and wakes him up. But that bit made me jump because he's having like a dream sequence where he sees his daughter in the doorway. Now
Yeah,
that was shot very well. That scene was very impressive because his daughter's calling him, and yeah, she's calling him from the doorway, and he's just looking, and then all of a sudden, that scene, it kind of makes me jump because you've got Jack who's basically like, he's out in the hallways again. You need to get up, sort of thing.
yeah. There's a couple of other things that sort of go on at this time. We because you need, like, you can't just have JFK and Elvis the whole time. So Nurse, I don't know, I just call her Nurse Ratchet, because that's one flew over a cuckoo's nest. She's like outside having a cigarette, and someone's not very nice to her, and the mummy is kind of watching her secretly from an outhouse where he also appears to be doing a bit of welding for some reason. And like we've had the idea introduced earlier that this mummy needs souls to sustain itself. But the souls in the old people's home are very small little meals.
Weeks.
Yeah. And so when you see the mummy, because you see it from his POV of her, you wonder, ooh, is she in danger?
Yeah.
Like, because she's a big...
that makes me jump because obviously I think it's the Phantasm geezer from that film. He comes and says, "Oh, what's going on?" He makes her jump, and then she basically says,
he's nasty to her.
Yeah. There's an electrical
nice
over there. Yeah, he's not very nice to her. No.
Well, I think he says something like, "You've got to go and give Mrs. Johnson an enema now," like, and things
ordering
like
her about.
Yeah, like, and we like her. She's meant to be a sympathetic character. And then you've previously had him and his mate taking all the dead bodies out and just treating them like bags of shit and stuff. So
I forgot to mention that. I think it's the first body they take out, and the guy says, "Oh God, I wonder what kind of life he lived." This is the first guy who dies. He's like, "Who gives a shit?"
Yeah, exactly. Like
wow.
set in like a sort of theme. Then I'm trying to think if we find anything else out that we need to know, because like a lot of horror films, there's the kind of explanation / investigation of the mummy, like of the monster. But we do get to a scene that I love because it's just got an absolutely ridiculous line delivery in it, where he's got all the American chocolate bars and just goes, "Let's get decadent." And I've always really enjoyed that.
Well, he says to Elvis, he's like, "Oh, do you want a ding dong?" And then Elvis is yeah. What? He's like, no, not mine. Although, of course, if it was mine, it would be black, wouldn't it? But just a piece of chocolate.
Because they dyed him.
Yeah,
all over.
He's like, "Yeah, I'll have a Baby Ruth." And they're just a couple of friends having chocolate.
It's so stupid, isn't it? That's what I like about it. I love absurdity, and it's not. It's so stupid. I'm trying to think. There's something else that happens that is important, but I can't remember what it is at this point. Even though I watched the film 2 days ago. I've got a poor memory, or do I?
No, I've seen it twice.
But yeah, so we've got a decent setup, and then we get to them being shown as powerless, and in this powerlessness, like JFK is like, well, maybe we should move rest homes. That would be the sensible thing to do, and we also have this idea where, on one hand, we're given proof that JFK actually is JFK. Because when Elvis interrupts the mummy attack on him, it shows us a scar on his neck, which is where they removed his brain and put a bag of sand in.
Yeah.
Which they can turn off from the White House at any time. But you also hear a line about how the woman who pretends to be my niece took me to the library or something. And that actually made me a little bit sad in some ways, because I don't think you're meant to think at this point he is JFK and that he's just a nut job. But the fact that his niece is coming to visit him and things, and he won't accept her as his niece, is something that stayed with me, because she would be a good character. And then we get Elvis having a go at Nurse Ratched, which I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, because he's basically saying to her, stop being stop patronizing me, basically. And she just takes it in her stride. She doesn't get offended. She's like,
she goes, oh my goodness, Mr. Half. And that what's really cool about that, right? Is Elvis, I think here, he demonstrates an old person being angry really well.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a really top bit of acting myself. But also, she now takes him seriously. And do you understand, is that he's no longer in bed, just letting her, sort out his
treat him like a baby.
Yeah. Now she's
taking ownership. Yeah.
And I really like that. So we see the growth of Elvis, and then off he goes. Off he goes to, traditionally, right, there is an idea that goes all the way back to Beowulf and things like this. You'll see it in stuff like The Hobbit, which is the idea of the entry to the cave, which is that you have to go to a cave to get a treasure. It's something you'll see in loads of literature and things like that. And we get, a fairly explicit version of it here, where he goes down to underneath the bridge, which is very difficult for him on the walk.
Yeah.
And we find out that the mummy basically was stolen by... It is so stupid, but the reason the mummy is in East Texas is a couple of hicks have robbed a museum and tried to ransom the mummy, but for some reason they drove off a bridge. Whatever. I don't mind. But what I love about this is that they then do a flashback where Kemosabe was kept going on about under a bridge. He's been fighting as well. He is, he's the sort of predecessor to Elvis in a way, but he didn't have JFK in his corner. And then, we're in the fight. We're in the final act after this. I think that the phone call is basically the bridge.
Yeah. So it's basically Elvis and Jack. That's them coming up with the final plan for how to destroy the mummy.
I love the phone call.
Yeah.
Ask not what your rest home can do for you, but what you can do for your rest home.
Yeah.
And I love the way JFK goes, Elvis. Just the delivery of it. But the thing is, at this point, they are Elvis and JFK. And that's what's so cool, is they believe it and they embody it, and they're actually better versions than the real ones. And that is what is so cool about the film, is that this isn't about him proving he's Elvis to anyone. It's about him reclaiming what Elvis is. He was this dying old man who thought the only way to be a man was to get a boner. And now he's fighting a fucking mummy that eats souls out of your ass, because that's all you got, and you ain't coming to the King's Rest Home and sucking souls out of people's asses. It's game time. We got to kill us a mummy.
We gotta go. We gotta handle business.
Cool.
I love the bit where he says to JFK. He says to him, "So, what was Marilyn Monroe like in the set?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "That is classified information.
Sexually classified information.
But between you and me, wow."
Yeah.
That got a clap from me. That made me laugh out loud. Because that's a question. No, that's a question every single person in the audience would want to know. Really, they'd want to. A lot of people would want to ask that question. So
Yeah.
obviously, the fact that Don Corelli has asked that question and given us all an answer is pretty
Well,
cool.
it's based on a book.
It is, yeah. It's based on it, yeah.
Or a novella, rather, that got
Yeah.
terrible reviews, by the way, because it was I think it was in a collection of short stories about Elvis. And then in the middle of these ones, there's one about him fighting a mummy with JFK in an old people's home. And people weren't particularly impressed with it. But I also think just prior to what happens in that scene, they both make resolutions with themselves being bad fathers. And I think that's really important, where they actually kind of forgive themselves, because after Elvis has come back from the bridge and he's covered in dirt and brambles and bushes and whatnot, he sits on the bed and he accepts all the things. He accepts that he's got knob cancer. He understands they won't tell him because they think old age is going to get him first, and they don't even really care. He accepts he was a bad father. He accepts that he made all the mistakes in his life. He's got no one to blame. And it harkens back to the first scene with Jane Skirt, where he's having a go at Jane Skirt because really he's angry at himself about his daughter. And that kind of internal conflict all gets resolved. And JFK does the same thing, where he's like, we did the best that we could.
Well, I like that line. Yeah, I love the line where he says, at the end of the day, we did the best that we could with the hands that we were dealt. He basically, he doesn't absolve Elvis or himself as guilt. He's just basically saying, what I got from that was, we're not as bad as you're making out. We did our best. So
yeah, but it's about them resolving the issue internally for me.
Yeah.
And it's not like a kind of forgiveness. It is just a resolution. And what it allows is the next stage, which is them being reborn as JFK and Elvis. And when they come round that corner with the music playing, hot damn, that is a scene. Like, it's, Elvis, and it's no coincidence, it's white, like a sort of Jesus-like angel. But they're back, not just as who they were, but who they should have been. And that is the thing, is that even in their old age, even when they're on death's door, they are reborn as heroes. And Elvis even says at one point, I always fancied myself as a bit of a hero. I always pretended to be one. Now I have to be one. And it doesn't matter if he's Sebastian Hoff. It doesn't matter if he's JFK. None of that's important. They now represent what these people should have been. A rebirth. And it is sick. And then we get to a lot of stupidity that I enjoy tremendously.
Well, I love the fact that obviously we see the mummy like having a conversation with Elvis later on. So we see the hieroglyphics come up on the screen, and then we just see the foul language come out of his mouth. That was so funny. That was good.
Yeah, because he's just a hick, isn't it? It's great.
I love the flashback scene where you look at who the mummy was before all of this. That was done really well. Where you see what's happened to him. Now he's
quite surprised by that, to be honest, because you know this is a film that has no money, and then like they're doing CGI in 2001 or whatever. Imagine it's not impressive CGI, but it's well done. And then you get those kind of flashbacks of him being mummified and how he wasn't a good guy, and you get some tits as well, which actually surprised me. I didn't think you needed them at this point. Like, you're 90 minutes into the film.
I thought it worked well.
Just seemed a bit gratuitous to me. It felt to me.
No, I didn't mind it at all. I didn't mind it at all.
Well, they're good, but I just felt that they might have got an extra 10 grand in the budget somehow, and they just decided to spend it on this bit. Like I like it because it's at this point, this film is stupid and ridiculous, and it's got this heartfelt message under it, and you just accept that Elvis and JFK have got a flamethrower, And JFK, like, I think Elvis says, "I'm going to take the chair. I've oiled it," and Elvis is like, "Yeah, man, we need the wheels."
The electric wheelchair is hilarious. I like how fast he moves around on it. It's really cool.
Yeah. But also, what I really
Um,
like is, I don't know if you noticed this, but he starts speaking much more like Elvis in these scenes. Like,
yeah,
he's doing more Elvis kind of stuff. Like, I mean, there's a bit where he's on a wheelchair, shouting "TCB, baby,"
yeah,
which is taking care of business. He's shortened it as TCB. But yeah, I mean, you at this point, I know you didn't enjoy the film anywhere near as much as I did, but at this point, are you fully immersed in the ludicrousness of what is going on?
yeah, because you're just wondering how it's going to end.
Yeah, and I love the ending. I think it's quality. He Kemosabe's it, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought the obviously the bit where obviously Jack ends up dying because he obviously battles the mummy and loses his life. I thought the little bit with him and Elvis was quite what's the word? Quite sincere, very touching. And I love the obviously I always talk about music and how it enhances the film. The soundtrack was superb. It's like a constant. It's a constant. That scene, that sound, that music in that scene. You hear it from the beginning right up until the end. And yeah, shout out to the music.
Yeah, it changes slightly, so the meaning's different. And I also liked it when Elvis shows him his bag of juju, and in the bag of juju, he's got Kemosabe's whatever it is face mask. He's got a purple heart from Jane Skirt's
bag. Yeah, the purple heart.
Yeah, just like lucky things, and I thought that was really nice. Like honoring these people. Like, he now sees them as, like, he understands that they weren't always like this. That there was something else, and it's great because it contrasts it with the fact that this is Elvis. This is original, full strength Elvis. This isn't diet Elvis. This is Elvis, and this is the best version of Elvis. And he's in a wheelchair punching up a mummy.
Yeah,
wonderful.
And the bit where he apologizes before he just because he squirts him with all the gasoline.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Sorry," and then he just lights him up. Yeah, obviously we're not going to say the special effects were groundbreaking because they weren't, but obviously the scene where we see the mummy just going up in flames, that was done quite well.
It's very impressive, actually.
Very impressive, yeah.
Like, you don't see someone on fire like that for that amount of time anymore. I think that's before safety codes might have got changed. But yeah, but it's really good. And then the ending shot mirroring the opening shot, where obviously the opening shot, daytime, trees up at, like, looking at the, like, a new day. And here it's the end, and all the stars come in, say all is well. Elvis says his famous line of "Thank you very much," which is delivered well, and he dies. And what I loved about it was, if you think about it, the next day, Nurse Ratched is going to go out and she's going to find JFK dead on the floor, and then a wheelchair, like wheelchair marks down to the river, and she's going to find an Elvis impersonator in full Elvis gear with a broken rib and a man on fire. And, like, when I was watching it the first time many years ago, I remember thinking, is there going to be a scene where at the end it's Elvis's funeral, and maybe maybe you see his daughter turn up, or maybe Nurse Ratched says, "Well done, Elvis." But I realized this time none of that's important. It doesn't matter if we or other people thought he was Elvis or thought he was JFK. It's at the end they were to themselves. They reclaimed who they were, and they made them better. And that is so cool for a film about old age and dignity and grief. I absolutely love it.
I think at the end I wanted Jack to be introducing him to, like, an audience for the last time.
Yeah,
maybe not the last time, but basically in the afterlife, there's a big massive audience there. All these people.
Marilyn's there.
Marilyn's there. Yeah, Marilyn's there. And I just wanted to see him perform, but in the afterlife, knowing that he's going to be able to do this again and again. But obviously, that's just me being That's just me
So yeah,
being.
like Sebastian Haff is singing, and then he
That's
comes
me
off
being.
stage.
Yeah, that's me being sentimental. Obviously, wanting him to see Sebastian Haff and all these other people throughout his
Yeah, but
career.
as I said, that's kind of the expectation that we want as the audience. But what's so
Yeah,
cool about it is
it doesn't
it
give us
doesn't
that.
matter because
Yeah,
he's reclaimed who Elvis was, and remember, Elvis was something that was invented by other people. So
true.
in that last scene where he's on his walker, he's on the wheelchair, and he's just punching out the mummy. That is the Elvis he always should have been. That's what I love about it. It's so cool. So for me, I genuinely give this film a 9 out of 10 on the basis that with what they had and what they did, I think that they made a film that on the surface is so ridiculously stupid that no one would take it seriously. And yet they made a really touching film about grief, identity, old age, regrets. And they absolutely slam dunked all of that stuff. They didn't quite land it with the horror stuff because they had no money. But I think it is wonderfully executed. And you might not have enjoyed this film, but I had a little look yesterday, and this film is loved by a lot of people.
It's done quite well on Rotten Tomatoes, 78% or 79%. That's quite good.
But people love it. People love this film.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it connects with some of us on this level of death, really.
I think if you're an Elvis, I think if you're someone who loved Elvis mainly, I think maybe it resonates more with you, because I can't say I'm an Elvis fan. Obviously, it's not my era, but
Well, I know
I've
you're
never
not a
kind
huge fan of Indiana Jones, but I
yeah.
always felt the final Indiana Jones should have been very similar to Bubba Hotep. It should have been
Okay.
Indiana Jones in an old people's home, occasionally being Indiana Jones, and then at the end, he is Indiana Jones again. Like, instead of just pretending, I don't know, you wouldn't have seen the latest Indiana Jones. It was bloody awful.
I'll probably enjoy Temple of Doom more. Maybe that's why.
Temple of Doom is not.
Yeah.
Temple of Doom's all right. It's not very good. If we watch another Indiana Jones film, we'll watch The Last Crusade because that is excellent. But it's not on the list.
People have told me Temple of Doom is better than Raiders. So
it's not.
Okay.
I'll just tell you straight off, it's not. But what's the score? after having a chat for over an hour, anything changed?
Utterly ridiculous still. Can't say, and I'm just going by all the silly stuff. But I'm bumping it up to a 7, but I'm only bumping it up to the 7 because I love three main characters in it, which are the nurse.
Yeah.
Jack, who plays JFK, and
my president.
And Elvis. I thought those three characters embody the character. The three actors embody the characters quite well. And I thought, as you said, obviously a story about people who are getting older, looking back on their life, regrets. It's something that we can all kind of identify with and relate to. So for that, I'll give it a 7 out of 10, which I didn't think I'd do. But having the discussion has made me look at it differently.
Well, I mean, I started off last week.
He's a good actor. He's a great actor.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, he only does absolutely stupid stuff, though. Like, he's in one film called I Am Bruce, and it's a bit like Extras, where he plays himself having to fight like Confucius or Raiden or something from Mortal Kombat, and it's so stupid. I really like Bruce Campbell because he just loves pissing about. Yeah. But I think we should probably end it here, shouldn't we?
We should do, but I'll say if anyone tuned in, mainly Andrew, I'll just say thanks for tuning in.
Should we tell them what the next film is?
I was going to, but I think we should talk about it backstage. Leave that as a surprise for everybody.
No, we've got to tell them what it is. It's a film club. We have to.
All right, then. Next showing, next film we're going to be discussing is Serpent and the Rainbow.
Give us the year, a base, like a kind of, not a spoiler, but just what the setup of the film is, who's in it.
So it's set in the 80s. I can't remember the exact year. It's called Serpent and the Rainbow, and it's about a scientist who travels to Haiti, and he is investigating the locals, because there's been reports of people in Haiti going missing, well, basically dying and returning as zombies. It's based on a true story, um, and a novel. So yeah, that's what we're going to be discussing next.
Oh, it's got Bill Pullman in it, who was the
Yeah,
president
yeah,
in Independence Day.
yeah,
1988. Horror film because it's spooky October, and it's voodoo. So I'm quite looking forward to this one. As the next one after this is also voodoo. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, like it'll be good,
yeah,
Tyrone. Like so,
yeah, 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 yeah. I think you'll
uh,
enjoy this one. You know.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I'm not great. I don't like kind of like shock horror, like where things are fucking jumping out of mirrors all the time behind me.
it's
But
very interesting. There's a lot of
yeah,
very interesting characters in this.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Yeah,
excited about this one.
I
Um,
think it made me, when I watched it as a kid, it was quite. I saw it as quite scary, but maybe I'll look at it differently now. But yeah,
well,
good
it
film.
doesn't matter because it'll be
Mm,
good. Don't worry about it. Like the whole
mm.
point is that we watch these crazy films, and I look forward to it. But I think it's time for a thank you very much as Elvis, isn't it?
I'd just like to say, everyone, I've said it again. I've said it already. Should I say, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next show.